Alright, hello everyone, I'm Brandon Schaefer, and today I'm going to do another painting lesson, and so let's get into what I have here. It's 8x16 canvas. You don't have to have this size. This is just one I had laying around to work with. You could do 12x24 or adapt it to whatever size canvas you wish to use. Got some brushes here. Just show you what they are here. It's number 10, like a flat bristle, and then I just have number 4 and number 2, and then some liner brushes, and these are just, Filbert's flat, whatever suits your fancy. I also might use 2-inch brush here, but this is kind of a small painting, so I might not use that. You need a dish with some water in it. And here's the colors I have here. White, phthalo blue, ultramarine blue, cadmium yellow, a magenta color or red rose, cadmium red, burnt sienna. So that's just what I use. You can use whatever you like. And that's about it, so let's get into it. And what it's going to be kind of like a countryside farm scene, blue sky, distant, kind of hilly mountains in the background. It's going to have like a barn in the foreground with some backgroundish trees. That's my idea, so let's get started here. I think for the sky I'm going to use this brush right here. I'm not going to use the big 2-inch brush. So I want to do a really light blue. So I'm just going to get some phthalo blue and a lot of ultramarine. And you may want to wet your brush a little bit before you dip it into the paint. And it doesn't matter, but just a little bit wet and kind of wipe it off. You just want a little bit of moisture on your brush, not a lot. But I want a really light blue color here. And with the sky, sometimes you want to add a little touch of yellow. Not a lot because it'll turn it green. But if you add a little touch of yellow, it actually gives you more of a blue sky color. And maybe a little bit of burnt sienna or red. You just want a lot of variation, so pretty much just get some blue color. And the way to do a sky is you start out darker on the top, and as you go down, you keep adding more white, and it'll blend. I'll show you how to do that here. So pretty much just put it on in like small crisscross strokes, just like X's, and just spread it around as much as you can. And now I'm just going to go right into the white here because I think that's too dark. And you want to just add some white to the bottom and then just slowly blend it up. And basically the way to blend acrylics, the paint has to be wet. And acrylic tends to dry pretty quickly, or so people think. So you got to work with it while all this color is still wet. And remember to take note that acrylic dries like a shade darker, so don't be afraid to lighten it up a lot because it will dry darker. Because sometimes my skies come out kind of gloomy because I have them too dark. This is kind of dark right now, so wherever it's dark, you just add some white, and since it's wet paint, if you just keep moving it around, it'll just softly blend. There won't be any harsh edges. That's what I mean by blending. Just like a smooth transition. And for this sky, I want like a lot of variation in it, kind of like there's like misty clouds or something in the sky. Just, you can do any kind of sky you want. You can have it just solid blue if you want. But for this one, I want a lot of variation and just different details and such in the background. And really, as you get down, the sky's probably going to stop like right about here on this third of the canvas. And toward the bottom, I want it almost white. Because if you look at a blue sky outside, you'll notice that when it gets down to like the horizon line, it's almost white. There's like hardly any color to it. So pretty much just cover up the entire top of the canvas, top half of the canvas there, with the sky color. A lot of this is going to get covered up anyway, but it's good to fill it in just in case. Because a lot of times paintings evolve as I'm painting them. Like I don't really know. Like if I'm doing a really detailed piece, I actually draw everything out first with a pencil, really lightly. But for the most part, most of my paintings, I just do like this. I just do it right off the top of my head. I like the sense of having the freedom to do whatever I want with it. So if I ever change my mind, you know, it's not set in stone. I can do whatever I want. Alright, so that's about done there. Got most of the sky in there. It's kind of hard to see on the camera. That's alright though. Working with what I got here. It's kind of a small room, so I don't really have anywhere else to put the camera or anything. I'm kind of stuck where it is, so. Alright, so once you finish the sky here, clean your brush off. And I actually cleaned my brush earlier when I had too much blue on there. I cleaned it off and just went straight into the white and was just moving the white around. Just thought I'd note that. Alright, so now, while it's not too wet because I didn't put a lot of paint on. If you put like a lot of thick layering on paint on, you might want to wait to do this next step until it's a little bit drier. But it doesn't really have to be dry for this step because I'm going to put in some like dark, not dark, but just purple, you know, distant background here. So I'm just going to go into this magenta and ultramarine blue and some white. You just want a purple color, kind of on the blue side, because things off in the distance, if you ever look in nature, things off in the distance usually have this bluish tone to them, blue haze, if you will. And as things are farther away, you want them to seem cooler, and as they get closer, in the foreground things get darker and they get warmer, more of a red tone, or a warm tone. And since this background's still kind of wet, it's actually going to blend into the background a little bit, and that's kind of what I want, because I want this to, I don't want the edges, here I'll show you when I get into it here. Pretty much just decide where you want your mountains to be. These are kind of off in the distance, so it's not that big of a deal. Especially since we're going to put trees in front of it and things like that. And you don't want a sharp edge here. You want it to kind of be blurry because, you know, you don't want a lot of detail. It's really far away off in the distance, so you want to blur the edge and just kind of scrub in a circular motion. And see, this is coming off kind of dark here, so what I'm going to do, I'll show you what I'm going to do here in a second. So if your color is kind of dark, and actually this will help you create distance anyway, this is what you're going to need to do. So blur the edge there and just paint downward. And really just scrub the canvas. Like, that's the easiest way to explain this. Just get all the paint off the brush. Now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to clean off the brush here, but you want your brush to be kind of dry, so make sure you wipe it off a lot. And I need to put some more white on here, so I'm running out of white. So got some more white on there. And what I'm going to do at the bottom of this hill here, I'm going to put some white and just blend it up to the top. And what that does, it creates a lot of distance. It kind of makes the bottom look hazy. And it's just a way to create distance in your painting, and that's what you want. It really creates a lot of interest in your painting. You can add a touch of blue if you want, because usually there's like a blue haze. But it doesn't matter because it's going to blend in with that purple color, because the purple's still wet. So go at the bottom, paint some white, and you want just like this hazy, you really want it to blend together. Just lightly blend it almost all the way to the top of the distant mountains here. And if this is your first time ever painting, this painting might be a little difficult for you, but it's always good to have a challenge, because actually my first acrylic painting was actually really challenging, but it actually turned out really well. So you'll be surprised if you think this is tough. It's quite easy. So that created a lot of distance, and you can even add another another layer of white if you don't think it's shows enough distance there. So really you just want these mountains to be kind of blurry, like they're really far away, kind of hazy, off in the distance, not detailed. So there you go, there's the mountains there. And what I'm going to do now, I may have to let that dry, which isn't a problem. Maybe, could be anywhere, depending on how much paint you put on, could be 10 to 15 minutes. And it doesn't really have to be like super dry, all the way dry, but you don't want it to be really wet, because anything you put on now, it's going to blend with that white color. So I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll be back. So. Okay, so I let that mostly dry for about 5 to 10 minutes, probably about 7 minutes. It's still not completely dry, but that's okay, because as I was letting it dry, I was thinking about the next step, and the next step is kind of putting in the horizon line here. And where the horizon line actually is, I don't want it to be very harsh. I kind of want it to blend in just a bit back here, but I'm kind of going to have two different planes. Like back here there's going to be a horizon line, and then more in the foreground here is kind of where I'm going to have things happening, and this is just going to be more of a farther away. So anyway, now for the foreground, I'm kind of going to have the grass kind of be like a yellow brown, kind of like almost fall, dead grass or something like that, or just, you know, yellow field. So, but you kind of want to paint dark to light, so I'm going to throw in some darks here first. But I am, for the farther away foreground right here, more like the middle ground, I'm going to add some white to it because I don't want it completely dark. So I'm going to get some white, and let's do some burnt sienna just a little bit, and then go into some yellow. So I kind of want this golden white color. The key to painting like kind of realistically, and I wouldn't say I paint really realistically, it's more of like impressionistic kind of, just giving the impression is the impression of realism kind of, is to just have a lot of variation in your color and such. Like in the foreground, I'll show you that there's going to be a lot of variation. So I'm going to add a little more white because I don't want it to be too dark. Hope you can see that. I'm just going to, I kind of want it to swoop down a little bit, so I'm going to start up high and kind of just bring it down. And then kind of just paint downwards. And you don't want it to be like in a perfect line like that, like a straight line, so kind of let your brush make some texture there. Just give some variation with the land, just to create some distance and some interesting shapes. So as it further gets over here, don't worry about it too much, because I believe I'm going to cover that up. I haven't really planned this out all the way yet. So now you kind of want to scrub this and make it a little blurry as well, just to blur the line a bit. Alright. And you don't want this completely like really dark, because you want the foreground to be the darkest thing, or the most vibrant, warm thing. In theory, anyway. So kind of just keeping this light. You can add a little bit of white in places. Just a touch of white, and just a bright, you know, create some distance. The closer you get to the horizon line, you kind of want it to be more white. So it kind of looks like it's fading back there with the mountains. Alright, I hope these lessons are helping people. So that's really what I'm trying to do here, is give out a lot of free lessons to help some artists, you know, intermediate, beginner, any level. I just hope I give out some good tips here. You know, I like giving out little tips as I go along, because I like rewarding the people that actually watch these videos. And you know, I give some pretty good tips, just small things here and there that, you know, that I've caught myself and learned myself from doing so many paintings in a year. And I hope people appreciate it. So I wanted to thank you out there for watching, and I hope you enjoy this painting when it's actually finished. Alright, so now I think I'm going to start over here and make the, you know, make a different plane here. And it's going to be kind of a little darker. More burnt sienna there with some yellow. Just a little bit of yellow. And you can make it green if you want. You can have green foreground. You can, you know, you can add a little touch of red to kind of, you know, give it some fall color. So just come over here, and this one you don't want as blurry, because this is kind of the line that everything's going to be sitting on. So just paint that in. Just try to use all the paint you can that you already put on the canvas. And the land isn't going to stay this dark. We're going to add all the highlights in at the end. So don't get afraid to put it on too dark or anything, because we'll fix that. You want to throw in all the darks first, so then you don't have to worry about it later. It kind of just paints itself, really. And this is where you can get creative, because I'm kind of going to do a simple painting. I haven't done a painting like this in a while, so I'm trying to keep the composition pretty simple. But you can get really creative here. You know, adding bushes, trees, all kinds of things in the foreground, and I'll show you that here in a second once we get into it. But just keep covering the foreground here. This is just the base color. And don't go up too much here, because you just want that to be kind of blurry, just so it shows off in the distance. And one thing's happening in this area, because that's the crisp edge we just made. I'm going to have like a little barn here. But first I'm going to do some background trees, kind of like up here. You know, really tall trees, taller than this barn. And then off in the distance here, I might paint in like some trees back there too. We should have did that, you know, a few minutes ago, but that's okay. I wasn't sure of what I was going to do. So, and you notice I painted this whole thing with just this big brush right here. So now I'm gonna get a smaller brush here, a number 4. Get it wet and wipe it off. And that's the tip I want to make. The point I want to make is that you start really basic and with a big brush, and then you slowly add the details and everything and move into smaller and smaller brushes. And you know, it's kind of common sense to do it that way, because I mean, you don't want to paint this whole thing with this small brush. But you know, just get all the basics, block it in, and then, you know, add in the details with the smaller brushes. So I hope that makes sense to you guys out there. Alright, back here I'm going to add some really pale trees. You can kind of give them a green color, but I'm kind of going to keep this brownish and kind of blue with a lot of white. But not too much white, because if you see trees off in the distance, usually they're kind of dark. But they're not foreground dark. They're just a dark green. So, and you want more of a bluish gray tone, because, you know, trees in the distance, they're not going to be really warm. But see, these are almost going to seem like bushes just way back here in the distance, really small. Just kind of tap them on. You can blur the bottom edge there. Use your finger, you know, whatever, you know, you got all these resources available. So use what works for you, because, you know, people think, oh, you have to do it a certain way, or, you know, you have to do it this way, or otherwise it's wrong. And that's just not true, because every artist does it a different way. So, I mean, that's the whole point of art, is to do what works for you. I mean, that's the point. That's the whole deal with creativity and things like that. You know, people use toothbrushes and things like that to do an entire painting. You know, it doesn't make it wrong. You know, you could use fingers, you could do whatever you want. So there's some distant trees there. And now I'm going to add in some foreground trees here. And don't be afraid to run things off the edge of the canvas, which I'll show you right here. I'm going to do the, just get into some blues here and mix up a dark green color. The phthalo blue makes a really nice green, almost like this emerald green. And add some bird sienna and red there. and you get this nice warm green color. Oh, kind of turned it brown. But just go back into your blue. But you just want the shadow color almost for the trees. You kind of want it to be this dark, warm green, more on the reddish warm side, because they're closer to us. But don't be afraid to run things off the edge of the canvas, because that creates a lot of interest. And we might have to add a lot of layers here, but that's okay. And just make trees wherever you think they would be. And you kind of just, it's really simple to make something look like a tree. It's not that big of a deal. You just kind of paint it on. Just dab it on different, just have variation, because when you study nature, there's so much variation and there's so much going on. Let's see, I might have too much paint there. And now you just go into some blue and just have a lot of variation, touch of burnt sienna. And I'm going to make these trees kind of tall, just have something different going on here. And just in a few minutes after this is kind of dry, a little drier, we're going to add the highlights on here. So don't worry if it's too dark or anything like that. Like, you want it kind of dark. Right now we're kind of just covering the canvas and kind of just putting on the base coat. Just mixing up some more green here. Just keep painting it on. Just make sure you have a lot of variation with shape and height and size and color. See, I'm going back and retouching this tree here. Just making a lot of variation, different shapes and such. Darkening the center up. That's about all we want right there. And now these trees should look way more closer to you than these distant trees. And it's that simple to create distance. These trees are a lot lighter, they're really misty. These are kind of running in front of it. And don't worry about the bottom of the trees, really, kind of blend it down if you can. If not, don't worry, because we're going to redo the ground, and in front here I'm going to put like a barn and maybe have some bushes in front of it like it's an old barn that's getting overrun by the trees, kind of overgrown. Alright. So there's that. I think now I'm going to start painting the foreground a bit. And what you want to do is get some white with some yellow and burnt sienna. Probably more on the brownish side, burnt sienna side, with the white. Not too bright though, because you want the brightest whites to be last, the brightest highlights. And I'm just going to paint these on kind of just very randomly. Kind of fix the bottom line of the trees there. Just give some variation to it. Because when we put all that dark on, it's kind of like just a base coat. It's not really covering the canvas that well. So now I'm kind of I need to add some more white here. Just make a lot of variation. The whites and yellows and burnt sienna. You just want a lot of variation, make it look like grass. And once we paint in the barn and stuff, we'll touch it up some more. But I'm kind of doing this to let the base color of the trees dry. And we're also getting something else accomplished, so. Alright, so we got that done. Now the trees are almost dry, but they don't have to be all the way dry. I'm going to go into my number 2 smaller brush and start lighting this up a little bit, kind of create shape and where all the different trees and leaves are. So add a little bit of white to that green you had earlier, but not too much white, because it'll really dull the color out. So you want to add more yellow with the white, kind of make this yellowish green. That's not even bright enough, so add more white and yellow. And then I'm going to have my light source coming from over here and shining down. So all the lighter greens are going to be up here. All the shadows are going to be over here. So just try to think of like what would be sticking out the farthest to get all the light. And this is kind of going to be the focal area, so it's okay to like highlight it a lot depending on how you want it to look. Right here we're kind of just adding in the middle highlights, not the very white highlights or anything, just the middle color, giving some more variation other than just the dark color. And my first dark layer it didn't really cover a lot, so I might add in some more dark here and try to make it, a little more solid. And you want the darker to be more at the bottom of the trees, their darkest colors. That's usually where the darks lay in the trees. It's just at the bottom. And as it goes up, the tree gets lighter. More light hits the tree up there. I may have to let this dry for a few minutes because it's kind of not going on the way I want it. And that tends to happen sometimes, and sometimes you just have to take a break and let it dry and then just hit it again. Because you'll start scraping off the old paint you put on there. It's kind of counterproductive. Alright, so I think I'm going to do that. I think I'll take a break here, probably 5 to 10 minutes again. So when I come back, I'll show you what to do next. Alright, so I let that dry, and now I'm going to get back to it here. Got my number 2 brush, and I'm going to throw on some highlights on the trees here. White, back into the green with some yellow. It's always good to take a break from what you've been doing for a while, because when you get back to it, you see what it really needs. And this definitely needs some lighter highlights. So, just going to throw these on here. Don't make it too random. You kind of want to think of how a tree is shaped and where the light would be coming from. So just put these on, add a little more white if you need to, a little more yellow. You kind of want all these to be in shadow, so we might darken those up a bit later. And maybe this middle part in shadow, like the tree is overshadowing that one. But just remember to keep your shadows on this side, because the light's coming from this way. And this is getting hit with light, this is getting hit with light, that's probably in shadow. Maybe a little bit of light there. Wherever the light would just zing through, that's where you got to put the highlights on. But you don't want to overdo it, because that dark, that's what helps keep the form and shape of these trees. Maybe a little bit of light on that tree. Alright, so that's probably good for now. I want to throw this barn in here first, and then we'll go back to the highlights and we'll highlight the foreground a little bit more here. I think I'm going to add the barn kind of like its face, like the front's facing this way and the back's pointing that way, so kind of on an angle. Let's see if I can do this. It's going to be kind of hard because there's a little bit of perspective involved, but not much. Yeah, I think I'm just going to keep using this number 2. And what I'm going to do, you want to do the dark first. So, and I'm just going to draw the front face of it and try to get that in place and then draw the rest. So I'm going to start with some burnt sienna here and go into some ultramarine blue and just make this dark red purpley color. Add in some red, more blue, phthalo blue. Phthalo blue is really strong, so you don't want to use too much of that, but you just want a dark color. Alright, and here, wherever the front face, you kind of want it on a third. See that big tree is on the third there, so the front face of it, I think I want it to be like right there. So that's the baseline of it. It's kind of like this on an angle, and just draw straight up from there. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can make this an old raggedy barn, which I think I'm going to do. So there's going to be some trees kind of in front of it on the side, kind of like vines growing up it. Then just do the shape of a barn here. Just remember, it's not flat facing you like this, it's more of on an angle. So you want the bottom to be angled kind of going off that way, and the back's going to be angled going that way. Hope you can see it well enough there. Maybe I'll zoom it in when I'm editing the video. So you want to throw in this dark first, and I think that's pretty nice. And now I'm going to do the side here. Just paint it back like that. And remember, if you mess up or put the wrong angle, you can always paint over it or wipe it off quickly with a paper towel if you can. See, I think I made that angle kind of too harsh, so I'm just going to keep painting a little lower. make it more of a flat line. There we go. I think that's better. So I'm just going to paint this up. But I'm not too concerned with it because I can cover it up with, you know, whatever I need to. So I'm just going to paint this side in here. Remember, this is just the base coat of it. I'm going to make it like a red barn. And the red and the green complement each other, so it'll be a really nice combination here. And all this foreground is going to be kind of like bright yellow. Not bright yellow, but like white, yellow, brown. More of a neutral color. So, and this barn, it'll kind of push those trees back. And we'll paint like maybe some bushes and stuff in front of it to kind of make it look like it's back into the trees, you know, things like that. Okay, now I got to put a roof on it here, which I'm going to use a lighter color, not too white, because the sun's shining this way, so it's kind of going to be a white roof. But I'm not going to paint it straight white yet. I'm just going to mix it in with that dark color we just made, add some white to it. And kind of just paint it up here. You kind of want the back of the roof to be the same angle that you made the front, so it looks consistent. Otherwise it'll look funny. So just paint it straight back. If you need to, you can use a photo reference. Just look up pictures of barns on Google or wherever. You know, stock photo sites, things like that. I do know of a stock photo website that all the photos you can use on there for commercial purposes, and they allow you to do that. I may give that site away at a later time. You know, kind of as a freebie or something, let you guys in on my little secret for stock photos. But for now, just look up stock photos where we can, find a barn or trees, whatever you need for this painting or any other painting. Just look at it. Look up some stock photos. Because when I first started painting, I was using stock photos a lot, and it does help, but it can be a pain. So don't get too trapped into it. Only use a photo reference if you really need to. Nowadays I try to use my imagination a lot more. But once you do like a lot of paintings, it comes a lot easier. Because you know that you'll probably make mistakes in this painting. But that's okay, because it'll only improve your painting skills for the next painting. So what I'm doing here, I'm just taking a liner brush and just making some sharper edges and getting more detail with the roof. Trying to figure out where I want it to be. And it doesn't matter too much because I'm going to make it white here pretty soon. Alright, so we got the barn in place, and it doesn't look too bad. I think it looks alright. And now if you want, this is the front, you can make like a path coming out this way and curl it back down, or you know, make a path coming over here, or you know, there's tons of things you can do. I think I'm going to make a lot of little, like, I'm not sure yet, we'll see. You know, a lot of posts, like an old fence back there behind it. I don't know yet, we'll see. And maybe have some coming forward this way to show that like there was a fence around the barn. You know, that there's endless possibilities you could do. And that's what's really cool about paintings like these. Now while the trees and the barn is drying, I think I'm going to take this Actually, I'm gonna use a big brush here, number 2. Oh, no, number 10, big flat brush. I'm gonna go into some yellow and white and a little bit of burnt sienna, and I'm gonna paint the foreground because I'm not really liking that color right there, and I want it more like golden. And I'm just gonna that's still not even how I want it. Just make it lighter. Yeah, you can leave some dark spots depending on what you want. You want a lot of variation though, that's for sure. Now it's getting kind of too dull with that white, so hit it with some yellow, maybe some burnt sienna. So that's kind of more of what I'm looking for here. And I may add some more dark up front to maybe like suggest that a tree is over here or something and a shadow is casting. Maybe like right over here. Make it kind of dark. Not sure yet, but that's an idea. Keep this kind of dark because like the shadows, you know, of the tree. I'm going to add some more yellow and white, just a little bit. And really you can make a lot of textures for grass. We're not really to that point yet. Alright, there we go, that's more of what I want. When I add the red on the barn, it'll look a lot better than it does now. And I think that's what I'm going to do right here. Add on the first layer and take my number 2 small brush. Just go straight into the red. Maybe you have to add a little white. Usually red is a hard color to work with, and when you add white to it, it turns into a pink color. Well, you may have to add a little bit of yellow. It'll make it an orangey color or some burnt sienna. But the thing that I found with white is that if you put down the white first, if you put down more color with white, it will be lighter in pink, but you can go back over it with straight red. Red's a very transparent color, so it'll almost be like a glaze, and it'll cover it up nicely. I'll show you. And the barn's still a little wet with that darker burnt sienna, so that's okay. And you don't want to cover up all the dark anyway. And the front of the barn here is going to be darker because the light's coming from this way, so it's shining more just on this side. So there's going to be like a shadow with the roof and everything. So I'm going to make the front a little darker with some burnt sienna and red. And this front is going to be a darker red. And you'll totally tell the difference once you get the highlights on. And I said this in my last lesson video, there's a point in almost every painting I do that I feel like it's just not working out, like it's just a really bad painting. And the reason that is because I haven't added all the highlights in yet, and it really can make you discouraged because a lot of your stuff looks really flat and there's no dimension and it just doesn't seem right. But you know, if you keep pushing through and you add the highlights in, you'll see in the end that it was worth it, and that, you know, you shouldn't get discouraged even though your painting was looking bad. So just keep pushing on, because I was kind of at that point a few minutes ago, like, this painting is bad, this shouldn't even be a lesson. But it's actually turning out really nicely. And you'll see once I add white on that roof here, which I'm about to do now. And I think I'm going to use the smaller brush. I kind of want to get detailed here. I'm going to mix a little bit, maybe this brown color with this white, because I don't want it to be completely white. Maybe even a little bit of blue-gray color. But more on the white side. You just want it to have a little tint of some kind of color, maybe orange or something like that. And I'm going to really highlight this roof here. Like it's an old tin roof or something like that. I don't want to get too detailed though. You kind of just want to like show a suggestion of the roof. You know, have some texture. Leave in some of the dark. You kind of always want like a dark and then a middle color and then a highlight. So this is kind of like the middle color. The middle value. You want at least 3 values. You know, with these trees we added the dark value and then like 2 highlights already, kind of middle color. And then soon we're going to add some highlights and then, you know, there'll be enough variation and value in there that it'll look nice. Alright, so there's the roof. And then I'm going to add just a touch more white to that color I just made. And go back and really highlight this thing. And you can do it when it's drier too. We may have to do it at the end, because acrylics dry darker than when you paint them on. So you always have to kind of let the painting dry and then go back to it and add just a little brighter highlights. Alright, so now I'm going to finish this side of the barn here. And I'm going to use a little bigger liner brush for this, just because I want more texture and detail. So I'm just going to go straight into the red. With the red, you kind of have to put it on a little thick to get the color you want. And I kind of want this brightish red color. I'm just going to put it on. Not too detailed. I want some texture and variation. And I may go back in and add some like dark boards to make it look like the boards are missing and things like that. So many different things you can do with this. And that's my point here, is that you don't have to follow exactly what I'm doing. Get creative, make it your own painting. I'm going to take my smaller brush now, my smallest brush. I'm going to add a touch of yellow and white, barely any white, to this red, just for a highlight on the side of this barn. I have to do it when it's drier. So that was kind of the first layer of red. You might have to add another layer. Red is really tough. Alright, so there's the barn, and eventually we'll paint in like a dark window and a dark doorway and things like that. I'm going to mess with these trees right here. So I'm going to get this number 2, and maybe I'll do, I don't know. We'll do this number 2 right now. Just get a lighter green going. more on the yellow side, maybe a little bit of orange, maybe a little orange shade to it. Maybe the sun's kind of going down or something. So more of like an orangey green. I know the sky doesn't really say that the sun's going down, but that's okay. I'll do a sunset or something in a later lesson. So you want this orangey green kind of color. And just randomly, well, not randomly, but you know what I mean. Put it on here. Some little touches here and there of where light would be zinging through. Don't get rid of all your dark. May have to go back and add some more dark to it. That's okay though. It's always a learning process of getting a nice balance. I'm going to add a little more white to that just for some variation and different kinds of highlights here. You know, like some leaves are really shiny. And kind of create a focal point for this painting other than the barn. There you go. That's it right there. That's pretty much it. Let me stop before I get carried away. Okay, so we're kind of letting this dry now. Letting the barn dry. Let me see. Yeah, it's still kind of wet. Put on a lot of red. I might mess with the roof a little bit more here. Add some white. Alright. Alright, so for this side of the barn, I'm going to add some more red. I really need this red to stand out. So I'm going to add some white and yellow too. But not much. There we go. Got kind of a brighter red going on, that's what I want. Oh, got it right on the roof. That's okay, scrubbed it off. Alright, that may be as bright as it's going to get for now. I'm painting a dark doorway here in the front. So get some burnt sienna and maybe some blue, ultramarine blue. Any kind of blue really. With some burnt sienna. I'm going to use a small liner brush here. I'm just painting a square doorway here in the front. What you can do to kind of highlight this doorway a little bit, and maybe I'm going to add a window in the middle here. What you can do is add some white frame, like door frame around it, but you don't want completely white because this is in the shadow. So you want more of a blue, ultramarine blue with some white. So mix that up, and I'm just going to highlight it around the doorway here. And depending on how old you want your barn to be, you could show up a lot, or it could be really broken up. Just depends on how you want it. There we go. You can add some windows on the side here. Once that dries, we can mess with it some more. And actually, I think I'm going to add some bushes on the sides here. Let's just do it and see what it looks like. So I'm going to get some dark green color. Mixing up some green color. Let's see. Yeah, just dab it up the side of the, kind of make it look like the barn's hidden by some bushes. Almost like these bushes are a part of the trees back here. You can add in the darks a little bit. Just to make those highlights stand out a lot more. Make those trees go back a little further. There's some bushes on this side. Yeah, I like that a lot better. Looks like the barn's back here hiding. I think that's pretty cool. And we'll eventually highlight these bushes too. And this is going to be a long painting, but that's okay. So most of that side of the barn doesn't even matter. So we're kind of hiding it. And see, there's so much room in the foreground, you can put whatever you want. And I think I'm definitely going to have like, here, let's do it. Red with some burnt sienna, a little bit of yellow. Kind of an orangey, dark orange rust color. Add a little touch of white. And right here, just start making a shadowy shape. Like there's a tree over here. Big tree standing up. So you just want some shadows over here. Just to give some variation to the ground as well. See that? Some variation over here. Make some of these shadows back here. Yeah, that makes it a lot better, I think. And now I'm going to put some more variation in the foreground with the yellow and white. Like with the grass and stuff. Kind of blur the shadow a bit. You know, show that there's bits of grass standing up. kinds of variation. I think over here, we need something over here. I think I'm going to have like a foreground set of bushes or something. Maybe we can have the trail going behind them or something right here. Because the barn's right here, and we need something to just balance it out, balance out the painting. So take some dark green color. Kind of just tap in like a little foreground bush. You can even throw in some rocks, like if you want this to be like out in Texas or the desert, you could throw in some rocks. And I mentioned this in my last lesson video, is that you kind of want it to be, you want points of interest to make triangular shapes. So I have like this an interest, this is an interest, that's an interest, kind of like a triangular shape. And you just want to look for those in your composition. So I'm just making some foreground bushes here. You can have a little bit showing up right here. I'm just going to have some back here as well, kind of distant. I'm going to make those a little darker. You may have to add a few layers and such. You know, one thing with painting, you gotta have a lot of patience, and one of the best things you can do while you're painting is put on some relaxing music or whatever music you like and just really get in the zone. And then just you'll feel a lot better, and time will just fly when you're painting. Like, time just literally flies by and you feel really refreshed. Sometimes you feel tired because you've made, you know, when you do a painting, you make like hundreds of decisions. You know, with each stroke you have to make a decision. So it can be very tiring too. Oh yeah, I can just see a path just right from the door, just coming down, swooping around right here. That'll just connect this bush and the barn. And I think that's, it'd be awesome. So I'm going to get a smaller brush here. Actually, I'm going to do a really small one to get, you know, a line in there. And you want to get in that dark brown that we just did here, kind of the same color, maybe a little more orangey. Maybe even some white to make it a little more opaque. And just start right at the door and just do just free strokes, like back and forth. And you may not see all of the whole path. And then just have it swoop right through here. See, not too detailed at all, not too hard. And we can mess with it a little more. But that just gives an indication. And it's kind of a little busy now, and we can fix this shadow, just lighten that up a bit. So I'm going to get this number 2 right here. Go back into that yellow and white burnt sienna and just kind of get rid of that shadow just a little bit because it's a little harsh. See, this is how painting is so free. You can just move stuff all around. You just made that tree out here smaller, you know, like there's tons of, you know, it's amazing with what you can do and how your mind actually thinks about all this stuff and trying to create a realistic scene here. And since I didn't really plan this out, maybe in future lessons I'll have more planned out compositions just to make it a little easier. And going to this brown color, we're going to, you know, just paint this in a little bit more for a base color. Oh yeah, this painting's looking good now. Hope you guys are enjoying this one. I really appreciate you watching these videos. And hit the like button if you found this video helpful. Subscribe to my videos to see more. I have a bunch of other lesson videos, and I'm definitely going to keep up putting out some future ones. So I'd appreciate if you subscribed and liked these videos. And comment down below. Let me know what you liked and disliked about this painting or about this whole lesson video. Just let me know. I would appreciate the feedback so that I can put out more effective lessons for you guys in the future, and for the ones who really care and really want to learn how to paint. So I would appreciate that. Thank you very much for watching. So let's get into this more. I'm going to add some white and some yellow to this burnt sienna color here. And maybe some red because I kind of want it to be orangey. Oh, too much red. Okay. You just got to keep playing with it sometimes. So I'm going to get like this golden color. Not too bright actually, because I need a middle base color. So you just want to highlight it a little bit because you know where the light's coming from. So just mess with it a little bit. And we need a smaller brush if we're really going to highlight it more, a little better. So you want this pale golden color. And just get in here and just highlight it even more. And there's really a lot more you can do with this. You can make little rocks, you can do a whole bunch of stuff. And the canvas is kind of small, so I can't get really too detailed. If I was doing like a 16 by 20, I could go in here and draw little, you know, blades of grass, which I might do right here with some white and yellow. You know, you could, there's so much you can do with this. And you can get in here, you could throw in little blades of grass on the side, in the middle of it. You know, the amount of detail is up to you. You can stop right here if you want, but I'm gonna highlight these bushes a little bit. So just get that lighter green color you had earlier. Just throw on these highlights here. Just remember where the light's coming from. Just tap it on. Keep the shadow color. Keep that dark. Highlight those a bit back here. Highlight these bushes up here. Almost forgot about those. Highlight these bushes. I get carried away with highlights sometimes, but it's all a learning process. Just do what you feel. I really want some lighter, I need some lighter grass here, like in the front. So just do some up and down strokes. If you want some tall grass, you can do it however you want. But I really need some grass here. That yellow color is driving me crazy. I need to lighten it up. See, now I'm creating a lot of texture in this foreground, which is, I think it's a lot better. And sometimes the white's too much, you gotta add a little bit of yellow and burnt sienna back in. See, I kind of define that path a little bit more. And you can add little, you know, I'm going to do it right here. I'm not even going to say it, I'm just going to do it. Demonstrate for you folks out there. So that's all this painting is, kind of just a demonstration, show you a lot of techniques, a lot of different ways, show you how I do my paintings. Giving away all my secrets right here. It's all for you guys. Alright, so I'm going to do some dark green, a little bit of dark green, not much. You could throw us in some bushes back here, right on the trail. You know, give some interest to the trail. More bushes up toward the front of it. That's simple. Alright, I'm going to highlight this trail a little more. So get into that light brown color, add some white and some yellow. I really want this thing to be shining. So let's see if this will work. Still not bright enough, I don't know. Need a lot of white, some yellow. Need a really golden color. Alright, that'll do it. I just want to do this a little bit, not everywhere. And I'm going to go back in and add some dark to it because it's just not popping out enough for me. I need some burnt sienna with some red. A little bit of white, maybe a little bit of yellow. I need like an orangey dirt color, you know. Oh, mine's going to be kind of maroon. That's okay. Yeah, there we go. That's what it needs right there. Get that dark popping out, that dark color. I haven't painted in a few weeks, so I'm like relearning everything. So you'll have to excuse me. Hopefully my next lessons will be much better than this one was. I don't think this lesson was bad, but I expect my future ones to be 200 times better. I really want to teach you guys out here on the YouTube channel how to paint. All my faithful subscribers, I appreciate you guys. I've been getting a lot of emails about questions and things, so I try to address that too in these videos. People asking me how I do certain things, and you know, so I figured I should just start making lesson videos. I may do some short videos explaining, you know, certain things. Now mix that light color with that dark one to get a middle color. I need to go back in here and just kind of blend it a little bit. Just make an old raggedy trail. I think that's good for that trail. I'm just messing with it too much. Alright, so I may highlight this side of the barn a little bit more because I want that to be a focal point. So I'm going to add some red with some yellow and a little touch of white. Maybe more on the orange side. A lot of yellow. That's just, it seems better than having like a pink red for a highlight. So just gonna make it look like little boards. I think some of the boards are sticking out. Have it highlighted. And I may even do a little bit lighter than that too, because I just really want this to be a focal point. So even get a little lighter and put in even less. Yeah, you just want it to be on a certain part. One last time I'm going to highlight these trees and such. I'm going to use the small brush here because I want to get really detailed. And just add a little bit more on the yellow side, golden side of the green. But really bright. I'm only going to put this in a few spots. Just make it look like some leaves are really shining up on these bushes up here. Yeah, there we go. Creating more of a focal point. And then these over here, just add a little bit on the highlights you already put on. This painting is just about done. I'm just getting detail with it now, but it is pretty much done. I'm gonna highlight this trail just one more time. Since I went back and darkened it up and such. Just add in some highlights for the trail. In the front here, I'm going to add in just a little bit of white and yellow, and I'm going to do some grassy strokes here and there. You know, I think this is what really impresses people, because when they see a painting and they see all the detail in the foreground with all these little tiny strokes, you know, they'll have no idea how you did all this painting. And they think that you did, you know, it makes it seem really complex when you just add in these small details. It just blows people away. And that's the secret to it. I mean, they'll think you did the whole painting with a small brush, you know, like it's funny how most people can't wrap their heads around how you know, the process of painting. But once you know about it, it's really simple. It's kind of like, you know, being an artist is like almost like being a magician. You know, like people look at it like that, like, wow, did you really paint that? Like, no, I just waved my magic paintbrush and it just painted itself, you know. But anyway, I'll call that a finished painting. I'm going to sign my name over here. So I'm going to get like maybe a really light green color. Something that blends in but sticks out as well. Like you don't want it to take away from the rest of the painting. You just want it to be in the painting, but be noticeable as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this painting. I enjoyed painting it and I enjoyed being here with you. It's a lot of fun. And I look forward to the next painting, hopefully very soon. Hope you guys learned a lot. So there's the finished painting. And anyway, let me get down here so you guys can see my face. It's kind of hard. My setup is really tough, but hope you guys enjoyed this painting. I appreciate you painting along with me here, and I hope I helped a lot of people. Hope I answered some questions that people have been asking me, and I hope to make some shorter videos in the future about giving tips and things like that. Just short videos of what kind of paint I use and things like that. Just basic things. If you have any questions, just post them down below. Any comments, post them down below as well. Like and subscribe to these videos if you wish to see more. I would appreciate it. Anyway, just keep practicing painting, and until the next lesson video, I am Brandon Schaefer, and I will see you there.